Hi there, it's Emma, and welcome to Sax Bites, the 5-minute saxophone lesson podcast. Today we are talking everything neck straps. This is something that I think can be a little underrated for people. Quite often they'll just use whatever neck strap comes in the case, whether that's a new instrument or a secondhand instrument, or my brother used to play saxophone and he gave me this neck strap. And it's very overlooked because it's so important. Physical health, musicians' health is an area that has absolutely exploded in the last decade. People are well aware and are becoming more aware of taking care of ourselves when we play our instruments. And let's face it, saxophone is kind of a heavy instrument. It's not exactly a tuba, but they're pretty big instruments, and there's a lot of people like Leo P out there who are jumping around on stage with Barry saxes that are very, very heavy instruments. So we need to make sure whatever neck strap or harness that we're using actually is suitable for what we need. So let's go through all 4 saxophones quickly. We're going to start with soprano, the smallest, and the first piece of advice I have for you is use a neck strap on soprano. And I'm really, really passionate about this because my first couple of years of uni, I loved to play soprano with a straight neck and no neck strap. And I ended up with an injury. I ended up with a gigantic growth ganglion on my right hand wrist, specifically at the bottom, the wrist at the bottom of the thumb. It was huge. It is gross. If you don't know what a ganglion is, Google is there. And that injury was an exact result of all the weight of the soprano being held in the right thumb and wiggling the rest of my fingers and moving my fingers and moving everything. And all this weight is on my thumb. So soprano really does need a neck strap to prevent any sort of long-term injury or problem there. With soprano, you want to use the neck, whether curved or straight, and neck strap combo that is going to give you a very wide range of movement. You want the soprano quite far away from the body. It's not like clarinet. So for this, I recommend kind of a thinner neck strap, something that's not too thick around the neck, something that's a little bit thinner so you have more movement and that is going to support that weight there. If you can do that, you can get up nice and straight, you're going to have a good time on soprano. For alto, I'd be looking at either the Neotech kind of thicker padded neck strap if you want a little bit of comfort there, or something kind of a medium thickness around the neck. Or if you do find the alto very heavy and you find that your back muscles and up sort of shoulder muscles are not super strong, you may look at a harness. But with the alto, the priority is to make sure that obviously the weight is supported in the neck strap and you are keeping it fairly closer to your body, much closer than the soprano, and getting that nice perpendicular angle of the mouthpiece coming straight out rather than angled in the same way. For example, I know I keep comparing to clarinet, but in the same way that a clarinet would be. Because the alto is still very light, I do think that a neck strap is the preferred option to the harness, unless you really need the harness. It gives you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more movement. For me, harness on the alto keeps me very, very restricted and my arms very close to my body, and that leads to a bit of a weird posture happening for me. So with the neck strap, you can stay a little bit more open-chested, a little bit broader, and that's going to lead to an overall better standing posture. Tenor saxophone is where things get kind of heavy. And also because of the length of it, where people start to have to figure out whether they're going to play the tenor very central to their body or still off to the side. So I still wear a neck strap for tenor, but it's the one where I usually recommend for students and for other people where they go over to the harness. And again, the strength of your back and neck muscles and shoulder muscles, or your strength in general, is going to play a big part as to whether you need to move to a harness here. But whichever one you choose, neck strap or harness, I definitely recommend making the choice that has the most comfort. I find that tenor is the one that is very likely to rub, so I would never use a neck strap that doesn't have a little bit of padding or comfort there. For me personally, it's just where I start to notice it. And for the length of my arms, when I play tenor standing, I actually feel way more comfortable and get a better posture with the tenor slightly off to the side, slightly to the right. Now, I have some very tall guy friends that don't need to do that. They can play the saxophone straight out to the front. And so if you are wearing a harness or you're someone that needs a harness for tenor and you are, what am I trying to say? If you play more to the side, a harness can actually suit this better, is what I'm trying to say. I got a little sidetracked there. But if you're a neck strap on tenor person, you'll actually be able to play more centrally a little bit easier. So this is where you need to make those calls. You might actually need to try both for tenor. And finally, the baritone sax. Unless you have great strength in your neck and shoulders, I strongly recommend a harness for baritone saxophone. Now, there's a few options here, and this might be a separate podcast running through different harness options. But what you are looking for is something that is almost like a bit of a posture checker. It's something that's keeping you up straight in the harness itself, keeping your back nice and straight, your center of gravity in a really good place so that you are able to move effectively with the bari. You will know if you don't have the right neck strap or harness for a baritone saxophone, if you feel like you need to stand in place still like a statue, because then you're not getting the right balance, you're not getting the right support, and that is your key indicator there. But definitely recommend harness for baritone all the time. Okay, so that was our first little gear chat episode, and it went kind of long, so I might need to split these episodes up a little bit more in the future. But I hope this helps you choose your next neck strap or harness, or if you're trying out other saxophones, you have some ideas of what you're going to use on those. Until next time, this has been Sax Bites, the 5-minute saxophone lesson podcast. Bye-bye.